What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the next Xbox console. We got a few rumors to talk about from Jez Corden, one of which was to address the idea of what year this thing is going to release. And then he kind of talks about what it's going to be in terms of like what the general idea for it is. So we're going to go through both of those things. Again, in terms of the year thing, I think this was to combat the Call of Duty rumor. Earlier this week, there was a rumor that next year's Call of Duty, so 2026, is made with like the next Xbox in mind, meaning it would release on the next Xbox, and also that the dev kit seemingly then would be out. I didn't cover it because I just didn't think it was actually real. Now, you can believe him, you cannot believe him. So in terms of what he says, he talks about how there is no dev kit. There's no dev kit out there. They're not, I guess from that way, they're not launching it on the next Xbox. So he says, the whole idea of the next Xbox is that it's going to be a PC in essence, but with a TV-friendly shell that also has a specific set of specs in mind. So developers will be building for Windows PC in a way, but in such a way that they know exactly what the specs will be. So maybe the Call of Duty rumor could be right, but if it is, the dev kit talk is more about what kind of specs they've been told to target for the next Xbox, not about having any dev kit. But I'm pretty sure new hardware is not 2026, it's 2027. So I guess he gives a little wiggle room, right, where it could be right in a way, like depending on how you actually look through those words. But two big things there, right? So 2027, I guess that's big, but it's kind of just saying old news over and over again. Again, we've heard, it seems like the next Xbox console is 2027 and the PS6 is 2028. I personally don't love that, and maybe that's just because I grew up, I went into my teenage years, into my 20s, with them being at the same time. I didn't get the PS3 or 360 at launch, and I know those two were not, synced up, but then you had PS4 and Xbox One and Series S and X and PS5 come out basically like a week apart. So and that's when I got into it. I got the PS3 a little bit later, got the 360 a little bit later, so I kind of got into the console wars, or just console mindset as they were synchronized and not when they came out so separated. I've also said I just don't think it really makes sense, I think, for developers, right? Because if you have the next Xbox console, now you have this really elite, right, powerful machine. Then you got like the X and the PS5. I guess you also have the PS5 Pro. Then you have the S that's really like, lingering behind. So you have all of these different like magnitudes of power. I just feel like it adds that extra thing. And then you have the PS6, a year later. I feel like it would just kind of be weird. Developers already feel like they don't know how to make a game that runs well and everything's optimized. They already can't do that. And so you're going to add another console that's on like a different scope than the other ones. I don't know. I would prefer, even though it's not best for my wallet, to have both of these things come out in the same year. So we'll see what happens there. And then in terms of, what it's going to be, the PC thing, I would say that is actually kind of big news, but also not all that surprising, right? Because what I think this really does is just continue to open Xbox up to the plan, what they plan, right? Where this really right now, the Xbox kind of is a PC, but not as much as what it seems like this one's going to be, right? But just the ability to run these things. We always talk about, Steam, like running Steam and all this stuff on Xbox. That's kind of like the next level, I think, to really, whatever the next level is for Xbox, that is the next level, right? Or when people talk about the handheld console that Xbox is probably doing, to have the compatibility to do that, to be able to run Steam in that way, I think is something that a lot of people are really, really interested in and really kind of just want. And again, it makes sense. It makes sense for what Xbox is doing, because if you make it basically a PC console, which I guess for the last like 10 years or maybe even longer, we're told that these consoles are basically PCs, but to make like the hardware, like the actual specs be like a computer, but it just is boxed up like an Xbox, I think that opens it up not only for Steam, and that's probably the biggest part, by the way, Steam and like the PC player base, for that backwards compatibility, for just games everywhere all on day one, right? But also, what about Nintendo and what about PlayStation? I think when you have it be like what this is described, you're opening it up to being able to run PlayStation games really well and have that ecosystem, have PlayStation Plus if you're going to go that far, have the Switch and all that jazz. So I just think it's the next step. I think that's what they've been building towards for a long time. I think it's already kind of what's been talked about for a handheld, that you need to have those kind of features in it. Feels like that's just what the Xbox is going to be just in general, right? The handheld would be it, and then also the next Xbox would be it. So again, not really surprising, but kind of, I would say, relatively big, that was actually said out loud. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.